The blue-white planet Earth looked small from this distance. Captain Tom Wilson stared out the viewport of the Earth diplomatic vessel Handshake as it approached the meeting point near Jupiter. His palms were sweaty. Today, humanity would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, the Warnships are moving into position," said Officer Bill Davis. "They're big." Tom nodded. The alien vessels dwarfed their own ship. The Handshake was the best Earth had built, sleek and modern by human standards. But next to the massive Warnships with their strange glowing engines, it looked like a toy. "Open communications when they signal," Tom said. "Remember everyone, we represent all of Earth today." The crew of 20 stood straighter at their stations. Each wore the dark blue uniform of the United Earth Space Force, with a special patch showing Earth and alien hands meeting in friendship. They had trained for this moment for years, practicing every possible first contact scenario. None of their training had prepared them for the Vorn. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall reptilian creature with dark green scales and yellow eyes with vertical pupils. The alien wore an ornate uniform covered in what looked like medals or symbols of rank. "I am High Commander Drek of the Vorn Confederation," the alien said, its voice translated through the ship's computers. "We have been observing your world for some time." Tom stepped forward. "High Commander, I am Captain Tom Wilson of Earth. We come in peace and friendship, hoping to establish diplomatic relations between our peoples." The alien's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "How quaint. The primitive mammals wish for diplomacy." Tom blinked, caught off guard by the dismissive tone. "We may be new to interstellar travel, but Earth has a rich culture and—" Yes, Drek interrupted. "You have music and art and wars over resources. All developing species do before they either advance or destroy themselves. We have seen it many times." The other Vorn in the background made sounds that the translator identified as laughter. "Perhaps we could discuss technological or cultural exchange," Tom suggested, keeping his voice steady despite the growing unease in his stomach. "Exchange?" Drek laughed again. "What could you possibly offer us? Your spacecraft uses chemical rockets and primitive ion drives. Your weapons are basic projectiles and crude nuclear devices. You are barely out of your caves." The main screen split to show images of Earth cities, military bases, and technology, all somehow recorded without anyone on Earth noticing. "Your most advanced computers would not be suitable for Vorn children's toys," Drek continued. "Your medical science still allows millions to die from diseases we cured millennia ago." Tom felt his face grow hot with embarrassment and anger, but he maintained his diplomatic composure. "Every civilization begins somewhere, High Commander. We hope to learn from more advanced species like yours." "Oh, you will learn," Drek said. "The Vorn Confederation offers your world protectorate status. We will oversee your development and ensure you do not destroy yourselves or become a threat to galactic stability." One of Tom's officers whispered, "Captain, their definition of protectorate translates closer to subject state or vassal in our language." Tom nodded slightly. "We appreciate the offer, High Commander, but Earth is an independent world. We seek friendship between equals, not oversight." This triggered more alien laughter. The screen changed to show the full Vorn fleet orbiting Jupiter, dozens of massive warships that made Earth's entire space force look insignificant. "Equals?" Drek's yellow eyes narrowed. "Let me be clear, Captain. You are not equals. You are barely sentient by Confederation standards. Your species has two choices: accept our protection or face the consequences of isolation in a dangerous galaxy." Tom tried again. "Perhaps if we could arrange a meeting with your diplomatic corps rather than military command." "I am the diplomatic corps for primitive worlds," Drek snapped. "The Vorn do not waste our true diplomats on species that still think faster than light travel is impossible." For the next hour, the meeting continued in the same pattern. Every human suggestion met with mockery. Every offer of friendship turned away with contempt. The Vorn made it clear: Earth could submit to their rule or face unspecified consequences. As the meeting ended, Drek delivered a final insult. "Return to your little blue world, Captain. Explain to your leaders what you have seen today. Tell them the Vorn Confederation has claimed this solar system as part of our territory. We will return in 2 of your months for your answer. Though, there is really only one sensible choice. The screen went dark. The journey back to Earth was quiet. The crew watched recordings of the meeting, noting how the Vorn had broadcast their mockery of humans across their communications network, treating the encounter like entertainment. They were laughing at us the whole time, Bill said, his voice tight with anger. Let them laugh, Tom replied. Pride comes before a fall. 3 days later, the handshake docked at Earth Orbital Station 1. Tom's report went directly to the United Earth Defense Council, the secret governing body that oversaw planetary security. In an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, 24 men and women sat around a large table. They represented every major nation and region on Earth. Tom stood before them, finishing his presentation. So that's it, he said. They think we're primitives. They want our submission, not friendship. Admiral Jane Foster stood up. She was a tall woman with gray hair and stern eyes that had seen too many conflicts on Earth. Thank you, Captain Wilson. Your team performed admirably in a difficult situation. What are our options? Asked the Council President. Their technology is clearly far beyond ours. Admiral Foster pressed a button, and the room darkened. A holographic display appeared above the table showing the solar system. Perhaps not as far beyond as they believe, she said. It's time to activate Project Phoenix. Murmurs filled the room. Many council members looked surprised. Project Phoenix is real? Asked one. I thought it was just a theory. It's very real, Foster replied. For 50 years we've been developing technology and training personnel in secret, preparing for exactly this scenario. The hologram zoomed in on the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. One large asteroid glowed red in the display, the UES Vengeance, Foster said, humanity's first and only stealth dreadnought, built inside an asteroid to hide its construction from both Earth's population and any watching eyes. The hologram changed to show a massive ship unlike anything Earth had publicly acknowledged building. Its dark hull was covered with strange technology. Weapon systems that shouldn't exist lined its frame. How is this possible? Asked the Chinese representative. This technology is centuries ahead of our public capabilities. Admiral Foster's face was grim. Because we've had help. In 1978, something crashed in Antarctica. It wasn't from Earth. Shocked silence filled the room. For decades, we've been reverse engineering that technology. The Vengeance is the result. A warship with capabilities the Vorn don't believe we could possibly possess. Tom looked at the hologram with wide eyes. We've had this all along. Why didn't we use this technology to improve life on Earth? Because we knew this day would come, Foster answered. If we revealed what we had, we would have shown our hand to any watching eyes. Instead, we planned, we built, and we waited. She looked around the room. The Vorn believe we're defenseless primitives. They have no idea what's waiting for them, if they choose to attack. The council president leaned forward. Are you suggesting we strike first? No, Foster said firmly. But if the Vorn come looking for an easy conquest, they'll find that these primitives have teeth. Very, very sharp teeth. The hologram showed the Vengeance powering up its systems, a deadly predator awakening from hibernation. They mocked us, Tom said quietly. They have no idea what humans do when backed into a corner. Admiral Foster nodded. And that, Captain Wilson, will be their downfall. Lieutenant Mike Rodriguez floated in the zero-gravity training room of the UES Vengeance. 3 years he had lived inside this rock, this secret weapon of Earth hidden in plain sight within the asteroid belt. Sometimes he forgot what the sun looked like without the filter of space-grade windows. All personnel report to the main deck, came the announcement over the ship's comm system. Captain Hayes has an important message. This is not a drill. Mike pushed off the wall and glided toward the exit. The ship's artificial gravity was off in the training rooms to save power, one of many protocols that kept the Vengeance hidden from scanning technology. The corridors filled with crew members, all moving with purpose toward the main deck. 300 people lived aboard this secret vessel, the best pilots, engineers, and soldiers Earth had to offer. Most had been told they were joining deep space research missions before learning the truth. "What do you think it is?" asked Ryan Park, the ship's communications expert, as they moved through the hallway. "Maybe the aliens left," Mike replied, though he didn't believe it. "Or maybe they're coming back with more ships," Ryan said. The main deck was packed by the time they arrived. Captain Laura Hayes stood on the command platform. She was not tall, but she had a presence that filled the room. Her short brown hair was streaked with gray, a reminder of the 20 years she had dedicated to Project Phoenix. "Crew of the Vengeance," she began. "Today we received the signal we have trained for but hoped would never come. Earth has made first contact with an alien civilization called the Vorn Confederation. The contact was not friendly." Screens around. The deck showed footage from the handshakes meeting. The crew watched in silence as the reptilian aliens mocked humanity. "The Vorn have given Earth 2 months to surrender control of our planet and solar system," Hayes continued. "They believe we are defenseless. They are wrong." She pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared, showing the entire solar system. The Vorn fleet was positioned near Jupiter, while Earth's conventional forces, a few dozen military satellites and a handful of armed spacecraft, orbited the home planet. "Command has activated Project Phoenix. The Vengeance is now on full alert status." A murmur ran through the crowd. For years they had trained, but always knowing they were in a holding pattern. Now it was real. "To those of you who joined us recently, let me explain exactly what this ship is," Hayes said. In 1978, an alien scout ship crashed in Antarctica. It was not Vorn, but belonged to a species that had been at war with them. Earth's governments united in secret to study this technology. The display changed to show the original crashed ship, a strange craft with technology beyond human understanding at the time. "For nearly 50 years, we reversed engineered what we found. The Vengeance is the result. We have gravity drives, when Earth officially uses chemical rockets. We have phase shift stealth technology when Earth officially uses radar. We have weapons that the Vorn believe we won't discover for centuries." Mike looked around at his crewmates. Most knew parts of this story, but few knew it all. Some looked shocked, others proud. "Chief Engineer Garcia, explain our propulsion," Hayes ordered. A stocky man stepped forward. "The Vengeance doesn't use traditional engines. We manipulate gravity itself, creating a downhill slope in space that we fall along. To the Vorn, this would look like magic. They don't believe humans understand gravitational field theory." "Weapons Officer Rodriguez, tell us about our offensive capabilities," Hayes continued. Mike swallowed and stepped forward. "We have 3 main weapon systems. First, gravitational lances that can tear ships apart from the inside. Second, phase disruptor torpedoes that bypass shields completely. Third, a main cannon that creates a focused point of artificial gravity so intense it causes fusion." The crew looked impressed, even those who worked in other departments and hadn't seen the weapons tested. "And our defense, Officer Lee?" Hayes asked. A young woman near the front spoke up. "The ship's hull is made of adaptive nanomaterials that can repair damage almost instantly. Our shields operate on 5 different energy frequencies simultaneously, making them nearly impossible to penetrate with a single weapon type. Most importantly," Hayes continued, "we have our stealth systems. As far as the Vorn know, we're just another asteroid. They have no idea we exist." She zoomed the display, out to show the Vorn fleet again. "Our mission is clear but limited. We are not to engage the Vorn directly, not yet. First, we will gather intelligence on their capabilities and weaknesses. Earth needs to know exactly what we're facing." "And if they attack Earth?" someone asked. Hayes's face hardened. "Then the Vengeance becomes humanity's counterstrike platform. If the Vorn start a war, we will finish it." The main deck was silent as the weight of responsibility settled on every person present. They were Earth's secret weapon, the ace up humanity's sleeve. "Report to your stations," Hayes ordered. Begin full systems activation. For the first time, since this ship was built, we're powering everything up simultaneously. As the crew dispersed, Mike headed to his weapons station. The ship hummed around him as systems that had been in standby for years came fully online. "How does it feel?" Ryan asked, working at the console next to him. "Knowing we might actually have to use these weapons?" Mike watched as his display showed the weapon systems charging. The power levels were higher than anything they'd achieved in testing. "Scared," he admitted, "but also ready." Deep in the asteroid, the heart of the Vengeance began to beat faster. The gravity drive core, a sphere of swirling blue energy, pulsed with power. Shield generators created invisible barriers around the hull. Weapon capacitors charged to full. In her private quarters, Captain Hayes studied the Vorn fleet formations. Her tablet showed everything Earth knew about the aliens, which wasn't much. But one thing was clear. They were conquerors who had done this before to other worlds. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she called. Alex Morgan, the ship's intelligence officer, stepped inside. "Captain, I've analyzed the Vorn communications from the first contact meeting. There's something interesting." "What is it?" "They're broadcasting on frequencies our public technology shouldn't be able to detect, but they never checked if we could listen on those channels. They're overconfident." Hayes nodded. "Can you keep monitoring those frequencies?" "Yes. They don't encrypt their tactical communications. They don't think we're worth the effort." A small smile crossed Hayes's face. "Their mistake." Back on the main deck, the final systems came online. The massive view screen showed the space around them, the countless rocks of the asteroid belt hiding their position perfectly. "All systems at full power, Captain," reported the operations officer. "The Vengeance is combat ready." Hayes looked at the display showing both the Vorn fleet and Earth. 2 months until the aliens returned for their answer. 2 months to prepare. "Now we watch and wait," she said. "And we make sure that when the Vorn come back, they get the surprise of their lives." The hidden dreadnought hummed with power, invisible among the asteroids, its weapons primed and its crew ready. The Vorn had no idea what was waiting for them. From the outside, it still looked like an ordinary asteroid. Inside was humanity's greatest achievement, and perhaps its only hope. The 2 months passed too quickly. Earth's governments tried to prepare their people for the idea of aliens without causing panic. They released carefully edited footage of the first contact meeting, removing the worst of the Vorn's mockery but making it clear that the aliens were not friendly. On the UES Vengeance hidden within its asteroid shell, Captain Hayes watched the countdown timer on the main display reach 0. "They're right on schedule," said Intelligence Officer Alex Morgan, pointing to the sensor readings. "Vorn ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter." The crew fell silent as the ships appeared on screen. Not the dozen vessels from first contact, but hundreds. A full invasion fleet that stretched across space like a swarm of metal insects. "Count is 347 ships," reported Ryan Park from his communications station. "Many more than before." Hayes's face remained calm, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the command rail. "Maintain stealth protocols, record everything." On Earth, emergency broadcasts interrupted regular programming. People around the world looked up to see new stars appear in the daytime sky, the massive Vorn ships visible even from the ground. The United Earth Defense Council gathered in their underground facility. Admiral Foster stood before the main screen, watching as the Vorn fleet approached Earth's orbit. "All military forces on high alert," she ordered. "But no one fires unless fired upon." Captain Tom Wilson, now serving as Earth's official representative to the Vorn, boarded a small shuttle with a diplomatic team. Their mission was to meet the aliens and attempt peaceful negotiation one more time. Back on the Vengeance, Mike Rodriguez watched the Earth shuttle approach the Vorn command ship. "They're so small compared to those alien ships," he said quietly. "Like a mouse approaching a cat." Captain Hayes nodded. "Keep weapon systems in standby, remember. We observe only unless Earth is attacked." The diplomatic meeting was broadcast across Earth and, unknown to the Vorn, received by the Vengeance as well. The crew watched as High Commander Drek once again faced Captain Wilson. "The time for your answer has come," Drek said, his reptilian face showing no emotion. "Will Earth accept its place under Vorn protection, or will you make this difficult?" Wilson stood straight, his voice steady. "Earth respectfully declines to become a protectorate. We propose instead a treaty of mutual recognition and non-interference." A low hissing sound came from Drek, what the translation program identified as laughter. "You still do not understand your situation," Drek said. "This is not a negotiation. Earth will submit or face consequences. We need time to prepare our people for such a major change," Wilson argued. "Give us 1 Earth year to—" "No more time," Drek interrupted. "Your answer is clear. You choose the hard path." The screen split to show a view of Earth from space. A bright beam shot from one of the Vorn ships toward the planet. "No!" Wilson shouted. The beam struck an uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. The entire island vanished in a blinding flash, leaving only churning water where land had been moments before. "That was an empty target," Drek said coldly. "The next will not be. You have 6 hours to surrender formally, or we target your capital cities." The transmission ended. Wilson and his team were escorted back to their shuttle and sent back to Earth. On the Vengeance, the mood was grim. "They just erased that island," Ryan whispered, "like it was nothing." "Energy readings suggest a matter conversion weapon," Alex reported. "It breaks down atomic bonds and converts matter to energy." Hayes turned to her weapons officer. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, what's your assessment?" Mike studied the readings. "Their ship had to charge for almost 5 minutes before firing. There's a vulnerability there, a power surge we could target." "Note it," Hayes ordered. "Keep looking for weaknesses." On Earth, panic spread as footage of the destroyed island circulated. Military forces around the world mobilized, but everyone knew they stood little chance against the Vorn technology. 6 hours later, Captain Wilson stood before the Defense Council again. "We can't win a direct fight," he said. "Their weapons are too advanced." Admiral Foster nodded. "Then we proceed with the contingency plan." Within the hour, Wilson was back on a shuttle, approaching the Vorn command ship. This time his message was different. "High Commander," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "Earth formally surrenders to the Vorn Confederation and accepts your terms." Drek's vertical pupils widened slightly, a sign of pleasure in Vorn body language. "A wise decision. We will begin establishing occupation zones immediately. Your military forces will disarm and report to Vorn supervisors." As the surrender was broadcast worldwide, Earth's military appeared to comply. Ships returned to bases. Aircraft landed. Soldiers stood down. From the hidden Vengeance, Captain Hayes watched it all. "Are they really surrendering?" asked one young crew member. "No," Hayes replied. "This is Phase 1. On her secure tablet, a message appeared from Admiral Foster. "Operation Thunderclap authorized." Hayes turned to her crew. "This is not a drill. Battle stations." The Vengeance hummed with activity as crew members rushed to their positions. Engineers removed the final safety locks from the weapon systems. The gravity drive powered up to full combat readiness. "Lieutenant Morgan, report on Vorn weaknesses," Hayes ordered. Alex stepped forward, displaying a 3D model of a Vorn warship. "We've identified 3 critical vulnerabilities. First, their shield harmonics fluctuate every 73 seconds, creating a brief window where our phase torpedoes can penetrate." She highlighted an area near the rear of the ship. "Second, their main power conduits run close to the outer hull here, behind minimal armor. A precise strike could disable their weapons. And third," she continued, "their command ships, like the one carrying High Commander Drek, rely on a centralized control system. If we take out the flagship, their fleet coordination will be severely compromised." Mike studied the targeting data on his console. "I can hit those power conduits with 93% accuracy if we get close enough." Hayes nodded. "That's our plan. We target the flagship first, then move on to their heavy weapons platforms. They outnumber us hundreds to 1, Ryan pointed out. Even with our advanced tech, can we really win? We don't need to defeat their entire fleet, Hayes said. We just need to shock them enough that Earth's standard forces can launch a coordinated counterattack. On Earth, as Vorn ships began landing near major cities, Admiral Foster sat in a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, military leaders from around the world watched their screens. The Vorn thought they were monitoring Earth's surrender. In reality, they were waiting for a signal. "All positions report ready," said the operations officer. Foster nodded. "Send the go code to the Vengeance." Deep in the asteroid belt, Captain Hayes received the message. She took a deep breath and looked at her crew, the men and women who had trained for years in secret for this moment. "Disengage asteroid camouflage," she ordered. "Power up main drive, weapon systems to full readiness." The outer shell of rock that had hidden the Vengeance began to crack and fall away, revealing the sleek, dark hull of the most advanced warship ever built by human hands. "Plot intercept course with the Vorn flagship," Hayes said. "Engage stealth systems." The Vengeance moved silently out of the asteroid belt, invisible to Vorn sensors. Its gravity drive left no engine signature. Its hull absorbed radar and LiDAR scans. On the Vorn flagship, High Commander Drek stood triumphant on his bridge, watching as Earth submitted to his rule. "Begin resource assessment immediately," he ordered. "I want mining operations established within a week." His second-in-command approached. "Should we maintain the fleet at full deployment?" The humans seemed thoroughly cowed. Drek made a dismissive gesture. "Reduced to standard occupation force, these primitives pose no threat." Unknown to him, death was already approaching, a ghost ship moving silently through space, carrying humanity's counterattack. "Time to target?" Hayes asked. 17 minutes, came the reply. Hayes leaned forward in her command chair. "The Vorn think this is over. We're about to show them it's just beginning." The UES Vengeance glided through space like a shark through dark water. Its stealth systems bent light around the hull, making it virtually invisible to both eyes and sensors. 5 minutes to firing range, Mike Rodriguez reported from the weapons station. His fingers moved across the console, inputting final targeting calculations. Captain Hayes stood at the center of the bridge, her face lit by the blue glow of tactical displays. "Status report. Engines at 97% efficiency," said the engineering officer. "Weapons charged and ready. Shields at maximum. Communications, ready to broadcast on all Vorn frequencies," Ryan added. Hayes nodded. "Remember, we only get one shot at surprise. Make it count." On the main screen, the Vorn flagship grew larger. It was enormous, nearly 2 miles long, with strange bulges and spines jutting from its hull. Around it, other Vorn ships moved into orbit around Earth, preparing for occupation. 2 minutes to firing range, Mike said. Hayes touched her communication. "Panel. All hands, final battle preparations. This is not a drill." Throughout the ship, crew members secured equipment and moved to emergency stations. In the medical bay, doctors prepared for possible casualties. In engineering, technicians monitored the gravity drive that kept them invisible to Vorn scanners. 1 minute, Mike announced. His targeting system locked onto the vulnerable power conduits Alex had identified. Hayes took a deep breath. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, you may fire when ready." Mike pressed his finger to the trigger. "Firing main gravitational lance." From the front of the Vengeance, a nearly invisible beam shot across space. It carried no energy or matter, only a concentrated field of artificial gravity, thousands of times stronger than Earth's. When it struck the Vorn flagship, it didn't explode or burn. Instead, it crushed. The beam hit precisely at the junction of the power conduits. Metal crumpled inward as if squeezed by a giant hand. The immense pressure ruptured the conduits, sending cascading failures through the ship's systems. "Direct hit," Mike shouted. "Their main power grid is failing." On the Vorn flagship's bridge, High Commander Drek was thrown to the floor as explosions rocked the ship. Alarms blared as lighting systems failed, plunging sections into darkness. "What happened?" he demanded, pulling himself up. "Were we hit? By what?" His officers scrambled at their stations. "Unknown, Commander. Something struck our aft section. Weapons systems offline. Shields failing." "Impossible," Drek hissed. "The humans have nothing that could—" "Commander," interrupted another officer. "Something is approaching. It wasn't there before, it just appeared." On their viewing screen, the Vengeance materialized as it dropped its stealth field. The human ship was smaller than the Vorn flagship but sleek and deadly, with weapons ports glowing along its hull. Drek stared in disbelief. "What is that? Where did it come from?" Back on the Vengeance, Hayes allowed herself a small smile. "Stealth systems disengaged. Let them see us now." 5 Vorn cruisers moving to intercept, Alex reported, watching the tactical display. "Target the nearest cruiser," Hayes ordered. "Fire phase torpedoes on my mark." Mike adjusted his targeting. Phase torpedoes locked. Fire. The Vengeance launched a spread of glowing projectiles. Unlike conventional weapons, these torpedoes didn't try to overpower the Vorn shields. Instead, they briefly shifted into another phase of reality, passing through the shields as if they weren't there. Once inside, they shifted back and detonated. 2 Vorn cruisers erupted in silent explosions, their hulls splitting open from the inside. "Direct hits," Mike reported. 2 cruisers disabled. "The other 3 are firing," Alex warned. "Energy." Beams lanced toward the Vengeance, but the human ship was already moving. Its gravity drive pulled it sideways at impossible speeds, evading the attacks. "Return fire," Hayes ordered. "Target their weapons arrays." The battle unfolded over the next 20 minutes. The Vengeance struck like lightning, appearing suddenly at one position, firing with devastating accuracy, then vanishing again. 5 more Vorn ships were disabled in quick succession, their crews never even seeing what hit them. "On Earth, Admiral." Foster watched the sensor readings from her command bunker. "The Vengeance is performing even better than we hoped," she said. "Time for Phase 2. She pressed a button on her console. "All Earth forces, execute Operation Thunderclap." Around the world, the supposedly surrendered human military sprang into action. Hidden weapon platforms revealed themselves. Submarines launched missiles at Vorn landing craft. Fighter jets that had appeared to land instead remained hidden at secret bases, now taking off to engage Vorn atmospheric craft. The surprise was total. The Vorn, believing Earth had surrendered, had lowered their shields to conserve power during occupation. Now they faced attacks from both space and the planet's surface. On the crippled Vorn flagship, Drek raged at his officers. "How is this possible? Where did that ship come from? Why weren't we prepared?" "Commander, the humans are attacking all across the planet," an officer reported. "This was planned. They never intended to surrender." "Order all ships to battle stations," Drek commanded. "Destroy that human vessel." But the Vengeance was not fighting a conventional battle. It would appear, strike with precision, then vanish before the Vorn could respond. Its weapons targeted command centers, weapon systems, and engines, disabling rather than destroying when possible. "Their fleet is in disarray," Alex reported, studying the tactical display. "Without the flagship's coordination, they're struggling to mount an organized defense." Hayes nodded. "Time for the final step. Take us directly to the flagship. Full visibility." "Captain?" Mike questioned. "We'll be exposed." "That's the point," Hayes replied. "I want Drek to see us coming." The Vengeance turned and accelerated toward the damaged Vorn flagship, all stealth systems disabled. Its black hull reflected the distant sun as it approached the much larger alien vessel. "Open a channel," Hayes ordered. "Let's show them who they're dealing with." Ryan worked his console. "Channel open, broadcasting on all Vorn frequencies." Hayes straightened her uniform and faced the camera. "This is Captain Laura Hayes of the Earthship Vengeance." "Hi, Commander Drek, I believe we have your attention now." On what remained of his bridge, Drek watched the human captain's transmission with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Who are you?" he demanded. "That ship, that technology, it's not possible." Your world builds chemical rockets and primitive ion drives. Hayes smiled. You should have studied our history more carefully before you mocked us, Commander. Humanity is always prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. What you see is only a fraction of what we've kept hidden. Impossible, Drek hissed. We monitored your world for years. We would have detected this level of technology. No, Hayes replied. You saw what we wanted you to see. Your arrogance blinded you to the possibility that we might be more than we appeared. A mistake many have made when dealing with humans. As they spoke, the Vengeance came to a stop directly in front of the Vorn flagship's bridge, close enough that the aliens could see details of its hull through their viewing ports. Your ship is impressive, Drek admitted, his voice tight with anger. But you are still one vessel against hundreds. You cannot win. At that moment, the tactical display showed new signals appearing throughout the solar system, from behind the moon, from Mars' orbit, from hidden bases in the asteroid belt. Dozens of smaller Earth vessels emerged, not as advanced as the Vengeance, but heavily armed and ready for battle. We weren't idle these past 2 months, Hayes said. While you prepared your invasion, we prepared our defense. On Earth, millions watched the battle unfold through telescopes and live broadcasts. They saw the supposedly all-powerful Vorn fleet in disarray, their mighty ships disabled by weapons they never saw coming. And at the center of it all was the Vengeance, the ship that wasn't supposed to exist, crewed by people who had lived, in secret for years waiting for this moment. Hayes leaned forward, her voice firm. High Commander Drek, you came to conquer. Instead, you'll leave with a message. Earth is not, and never will be, an easy target. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. Humanity's hidden ship had changed everything. The initial surprise of humanity's counterattack faded quickly. The Vorn were advanced conquerors who had subjugated many worlds. They would not be defeated easily. Vorn reinforcements incoming, Alex reported on the Vengeance's bridge. They're calling in ships from the outer system. Captain Hayes studied the tactical display with concern. The battle had been going well, but the Vorn still outnumbered Earth's forces significantly. Already the alien fleet was reorganizing, adapting to the human tactics. They're learning our attack patterns, Mike noted as another volley from the Vengeance's weapons barely damaged a Vorn cruiser. They've adjusted their shields to counter our phase torpedoes. Hayes nodded grimly. We knew the advantage of surprise wouldn't last forever. A massive explosion lit up space as one of Earth's smaller ships was destroyed by Vorn weapons fire. Then another. The momentum was shifting. Captain, Ryan called from communications. Admiral Foster is requesting immediate conference. Hayes moved to the private communications station. Admiral Foster's face appeared on the screen, her expression serious. The Vorn are recovering faster than we anticipated, Foster said without preamble. Our losses are mounting. We're seeing the same here, Hayes replied. The Vengeance is still effective, but they're adapting to our weapons. Foster nodded. It's time for Phase 3. Hayes's eyes widened slightly. Are you certain? We've never tested it at full scale. We don't have a choice, Foster answered. The Defense Council has authorized the quantum field disruptor. Can the Vengeance deploy it? Hayes took a deep breath. Yes, but I'll need to position the ship precisely, at the center point between Earth and the Vorn fleet. Do it, Foster ordered. We'll coordinate the backup fleet to strike immediately after deployment. The communication ended. Hayes returned to the main bridge, her face now set with determination. New orders, she announced. We're executing Phase 3. The crew looked at her with a mixture of awe and apprehension. They all knew what Phase 3 meant, the deployment of the Vengeance's most secret and powerful weapon. Helmsman, plot. A course to these coordinates, Hayes said, sending the position data. Lieutenant Rodriguez, begin charging the quantum field disruptor. Engineering, divert all non-essential power to the QFD. As the Vengeance moved to its new position, the Vorn pressed their advantage. 3 more Earth ships were destroyed. The HFY alien fleet, now reorganized under a secondary command ship, began a coordinated attack pattern. On the crippled Vorn flagship, High Commander Drek had been moved to a secure section. Despite his ship's damage, he watched the battle with growing satisfaction. "The humans fought well initially," he told his officers, "but now we see the truth. One advanced ship and a handful of lesser vessels cannot stand against the might of the Vorn Confederation." His second-in-command approached with a report. "The human vessel, the one they call Vengeance, is moving to a new position. It appears to be disengaging from combat." Drek's vertical pupils narrowed. "They're retreating?" "Unclear, Commander. They're positioning themselves between our fleet and Earth." "Prepare all functional weapons," Drek ordered. "If they want to make themselves a target, we will oblige them." Aboard the Vengeance, Mike reported from his station, QFD charged to 85%, 90%. "Vorn ships are targeting us," Alex warned. "Multiple weapon locks detected." Hayes remained calm. "Hold position. Divert all remaining power to shields. We need to withstand their fire just long enough to activate the QFD." The first volley of Vorn weapons struck the Vengeance hard. The ship shuddered under the impact. "Shields holding at 72%, reported the defense officer. "Second volley incoming." Again, the ship rocked from the impact. Warning lights flashed across multiple consoles. "Shields at 41%, came the report. "We can't take much more of this." "QFD at 99%, Mike called out. "Ready to deploy on your command." Hayes opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is Captain Hayes. All Earth vessels, initiate emergency power shutdown on my mark. Repeat. All systems must be powered down for 50 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Mark." Throughout space, human ships shut down their engines, weapons, and shields, making themselves completely vulnerable. The Vorn commanders, seeing this, assumed victory. "The humans are surrendering again," Drek said with satisfaction. "Their ships are powering down." His triumph was short-lived. On the Vengeance, Hayes gave the final order: "Activate the quantum field disruptor." Mike pressed his hand to the activation panel. QFD deployed. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, from the center of the Vengeance, a pulse of energy unlike anything seen before expanded outward. It wasn't visible to the naked eye, but every sensor in the solar system detected it. The pulse moved at near light speed, washing over the Vorn fleet. As it touched each alien ship, their systems failed. Engines died. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. Within 10 seconds, the entire Vorn fleet hung motionless in space, dead in the water. Hayes checked her chronometer. "All Earth ships power up in 40 seconds. Prepare for immediate engagement." The Vorn commanders frantically tried to restore power to their vessels, but nothing worked. The quantum field disruptor, the technology, reverse-engineered from the crashed alien ship in Antarctica, had temporarily disabled all Vorn tech by disrupting the quantum fields their systems relied on. Earth ships built on different technology principles were affected too, but they had been prepared, shutting down safely before the pulse hit and ready to restart. As the 50 seconds ended, Earth's fleet came back to life. The Vengeance led the charge, its weapons targeting the now defenseless Vorn ships. But they weren't alone. From Earth's surface, from underwater bases, from hidden lunar facilities, hundreds of smaller craft emerged. Earth's true defense fleet, hidden from both the Vorn and most of humanity, revealed itself at last. On the main communication channel, Admiral Foster addressed the Vorn. "High Commander Drek, this is Admiral Jane Foster of the United Earth Defense Forces. Your fleet is disabled and surrounded. You have two choices: surrender or be destroyed." In his darkened command center, Drek stared at the emergency lights in disbelief. Outside his viewports, he could see Earth's ships, far more than he had believed existed, moving into position around his helpless fleet. "How?" he whispered. "How did they hide all this?" His second-in-command had no answer. Drek's communication officer managed to restore emergency power to one channel. "Commander, the humans are requesting your response." After a long moment, Drek nodded. "Open the channel." When the connection was established, Drek spoke with as much dignity as he could muster. "This is High Commander Drek. The Vorn Confederation requests terms for cessation of hostilities." 2 weeks later, Captain Tom Wilson stood in the same meeting room where Earth's Defense Council had first activated Project Phoenix. This time, he wasn't alone. Captain Hayes was there, along with Admiral Foster and other military leaders. Across Diao, from them sat High Commander Drek and 3 other Vorn officials. "The treaty is fair," Wilson said, looking at the document on the table. "Earth remains independent. The Vorn Confederation recognizes our sovereignty and our right to develop without interference." Drek's scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice carried a note of grudging respect. "The treaty also establishes trade relations and technology exchange, not the outcome we expected when we first encountered your world." Hayes spoke up. "You thought we were primitives. A common mistake." "A costly one," Drek admitted. "There is one thing I still do not understand. The ship you recovered, the one that gave you your advanced technology, you said it belonged to our ancient enemies. Who were they?" Admiral Foster exchanged glances with Hayes before responding. "We don't know. The pilot was dead. The ship's records were mostly corrupted. We learned from the technology but not its origin." Drek's vertical pupils widened slightly. "There are many species in this galaxy with reason to fear the Vorn Confederation. Now it seems we have reason to respect yours." As the treaty was signed, aboard the Vengeance, Mike and the crew watched the ceremony via broadcast. After years of secrecy, they were finally recognized as heroes. "What happens now?" Ryan asked. "Do we just go back to normal life?" Mike shook his head, looking at the stars visible through the viewport. "I don't think anything will be normal again. We've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of." Throughout Earth, people celebrated not just their survival, but the revelation that humanity had never been as defenseless as they believed. The hidden ships, the secret technology, the plans made decades ago by forward-thinking leaders, all had saved them when the moment of crisis came. The Vengeance would remain in service, no longer hidden but now Earth's flagship, and beyond the solar system, word would spread through the stars. The species from the blue-green planet might look primitive at first glance, but underestimating them was a dangerous mistake. The aliens had mocked them. Earth's hidden ship had been ready for war, and now humanity took its place among the stars. Not as conquerors, not as victims, but as equals no one would dare mock again. The crystal palace of Vitros gleamed under twin suns, its massive towers reaching toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Inside the throne room, Emperor Quartzius sat on his diamond seat, his body made of pure quartz that sparkled with each breath. His crystal guards stood at attention, their blade arms sharp enough to cut through steel. "My lord," spoke Commander Flint, his granite voice echoing through the hall. "The outer rim reports are ready." The Emperor's ruby eyes glowed, brighter. For 300 years, the crystalline hegemony had ruled the galaxy with fear. Their secret weapon was simple but deadly: water. Just a few drops could melt any carbon-based life form in seconds. Their enemies called them the Crystal Death, and for good reason. Commander Flint stepped forward, his obsidian armor clicking against the crystal floor. He had led 1,000 battles and never lost. His fleet of crystal ships could destroy entire worlds with their hydrobombs. Each bomb contained pure H2O, the most dangerous substance in the known galaxy. "Tell me about the new sectors," the Emperor commanded. 17 new worlds conquered this cycle, my lord. The water bombs worked perfectly. The furry folk of Kalos Prime dissolved in minutes. The plant people of Green World lasted only hours. Flint's voice carried pride. Total casualties on our side, 0. Emperor Quartzius nodded. This was how war should be: quick, clean, and completely one-sided. The crystal beings had discovered long ago that water was their perfect weapon. While other species fought with lasers and missiles, the crystalline forces simply sprayed water. Game over. "What news from Scout Captain Granite?" the Emperor asked. "He should return soon from the Far Rim exploration, my lord." His mission was to map the outer territories for new conquest targets. The great doors of the throne room suddenly opened. Scout Captain Granite marched in, his crystal form flickering with excitement. His emerald body showed stress cracks, a sign he had seen something important. "My Emperor," Granite called out, dropping to one knee. "I bring strange news from the outer rim." "Speak freely, Captain." Granite stood up, his form still trembling. "My lord, I have found something impossible. A world covered in water, but it is not empty." The throne room fell silent. Commander Flint turned his diamond head toward the scout. Emperor Quartzius leaned forward on his crystal throne. "What do you mean, covered in water?" the Emperor demanded. "My lord, the planet is 71% liquid H2O. Vast oceans cover most of its surface. But somehow billions of creatures live there. They call themselves humans." Commander Flint laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Impossible. Nothing can survive in pure water. You must have made a mistake." "I saw it with my own sensors, Commander. These humans not only live near water, they swim in it. They drink it, they use it for everything." Emperor Quartzius stood up from his throne, his quartz body glowing with anger. "You are telling me that carbon-based life forms live in our ultimate weapon?" "Yes, my lord. But there is more. They have covered their planet with this water. Their cities sit next to vast oceans. Their ships float on the surface of liquid death itself." The Emperor began pacing, his crystal feet making sharp sounds on the floor. This news changed everything. For 3 centuries, water had made the crystalline hegemony unstoppable. No enemy could stand against hydro bombs. But now, a species existed that somehow lived with water every day. "Perhaps they are not truly carbon-based," suggested Commander Flint. "Maybe they are silicon creatures like us hiding in underwater crystal cities." Scout Captain Granite shook his emerald head. "I scanned them carefully, Commander. They are made of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and other soft elements. They are exactly the type of beings our water should destroy instantly." Emperor Quartzius stopped pacing. His ruby eyes burned brighter as he thought. If these humans could somehow resist water, they might pose a threat to the hegemony. But more likely, they had simply never faced a proper water attack. A few hydro bombs would clear up this mystery quickly. "Commander Flint," the Emperor ordered, "prepare the 3rd battle fleet. Take 50 crystal ships and standard hydrobomb loads. This water world will make an excellent addition to our empire." "Yes, my lord." Flint saluted, his blade arm gleaming. "How many humans should I expect to face?" "According to my scans," Granite replied, "approximately 8 billion of them cover the planet." Commander Flint laughed again. 8 billion? My lord, a single hydro bomb can eliminate millions. This will be over in 1 day." Emperor Quartzius nodded. "Exactly what I was thinking. These humans have probably never seen real warfare. They live on a water world, so they clearly do not understand how dangerous H2O can be. We will teach them." "Should I prepare for ground invasion after the bombardment?" asked Flint. "No need," the Emperor replied. "After the hydro bombs fall, there will be nothing left but empty oceans. Perfect for our crystal colonies." The other crystal officers in the throne room began discussing the new conquest. Admiral Slate suggested using the water from Earth's oceans to make more hydro bombs. General Stone wanted to study how so much water could exist in liquid form. Most planets froze their H2O solid or boiled it to gas. But Emperor Quartzius was already planning beyond the conquest. A world with that much water could supply the EO, hegemony's weapons for 1,000 years. They could build hydrobomb factories in Earth's oceans. The Crystal Empire would become even more powerful. "Commander Flint," the Emperor said finally, "I want you to record everything. This conquest will become a training video for future crystal warriors. Show them how even the strangest enemies fall to our water weapons." "It will be my honor, my lord," Flint replied. "Should I offer them surrender terms first?" Emperor Quartzius considered this. Sometimes it was fun to watch enemies panic before they dissolved. "Yes, give them one chance to surrender. Tell them about our hydrobombs. Let them understand what they face. Their fear will make the victory sweeter." "Understood, my lord. When do we depart?" Immediately. I want this Earth conquered before the next crystal harvest begins. This should be quick work. As Commander Flint left to prepare his fleet, Emperor Quartzius returned to his diamond throne. Soon, another world would bow before the crystalline hegemony. These humans would learn, as all carbon-based life had learned, that water meant death. The crystal ships began launching within hours, their hulls gleaming as they headed toward the outer rim. None of them suspected that they were flying toward the one species in the galaxy that had made water their greatest ally instead of their greatest fear. Commander Flint's crystal ship cut through space like a diamond blade. Behind him, 49 other ships of the Third Battle Fleet followed in perfect formation. Their crystal hulls reflected starlight as they moved toward the outer rim where Earth waited. Inside his command chamber, Flint studied the data scout Captain Granite had collected. The numbers seemed impossible. 71% water coverage, 8 billion carbon-based life forms, cities built right next to vast oceans of liquid H2O. "Commander," called Lieutenant Quartz from the navigation station, "we will reach the target system in 6 hours. "Excellent," Flint replied. "Signal the fleet. Prepare hydro-bomb bays for immediate deployment upon arrival." "Yes, sir. Should we charge the crystal cannons as well?" Flint's ruby eyes dimmed with amusement. "Against creatures who live next to water, the hydro bombs will end this before we need any other weapons." As the fleet traveled deeper into space, Flint reviewed the crystalline hegemony's perfect war record. 300 years of conquest. 0 defeats. The hydro bomb had made war simple. Deploy water, watch enemies dissolve, claim the empty world. Every single time. But something about Earth bothered him. How could any species survive constant exposure to H2O? Even the toughest carbon-based creatures died within minutes of water contact, yet these humans apparently swam in it for fun. "Lieutenant," Flint called out, "display the Earth scans again." The holographic image appeared in the center of the command chamber. A blue and green world spun slowly, white clouds swirling across its surface. Flint could see the massive oceans clearly: Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic. More water than some entire star systems contained. "Look at those ocean sizes," whispered Sergeant Amber from the weapons station. "The Pacific Ocean alone contains more H2O than our entire hydro bomb stockpile, which makes this conquest even more valuable," Flint reminded her. "After we clear the surface of life, we can harvest that water for centuries of future wars." The crystal beings had learned long ago that water was rare in the galaxy. Most planets kept their H2O frozen solid or boiled into gas. Liquid water was precious, deadly, and perfect for warfare. Earth apparently had more liquid water than any world they had ever seen. "Commander," Lieutenant Quartz reported, "we are receiving strange signals from the target system." "What kind of signals?" "Radio waves, sir. Thousands of them. The humans appear to be communicating across their entire planet simultaneously." Flint moved to the communication station. The signals were indeed everywhere. Voices, music, data streams, all flowing between different parts of Earth constantly. The sheer volume was amazing. "Can you understand any of it?" Flint asked. "Some of it, sir. They speak many different languages, but I am detecting military communications as well." This caught Flint's attention. "Military? Show me." The communications. Officer Captain Ruby filtered the signals. Soon, clear military chatter filled the command chamber. Voices discussing ship movements, radar contacts, and defensive positions. "They know we are coming," Ruby reported. "Impossible," Flint said. "We are still 4 hours away, and our ships are crystal stealth-enabled. The signals suggest they detected us when we entered their star system, sir." Flint considered this. Perhaps these humans were more advanced than Scout Captain Granite had reported. But it did not matter. Advanced technology meant nothing against hydrobombs. "Sir," called Lieutenant Quartz urgently, "we have visual contact with Earth now." The main screen lit up with a real-time view of the planet. Flint stared in wonder at the swirling blue oceans. He had seen many worlds, but none like this. Water everywhere, yet somehow teeming with life. "Magnify the populated areas," Flint ordered. The screen zoomed in on the eastern coast of a large continent. Cities stretched along the shoreline, their lights visible even from space. But what shocked Flint was seeing the cities built right up to the water's edge. Some structures actually extended over the oceans themselves. They build their homes next to our ultimate weapon, Sergeant Amber whispered in amazement. Not just next to it, Captain Ruby added, studying her sensors. I am detecting thousands of vessels moving across the ocean surfaces, ships made of metal, carrying humans directly on top of liquid water. Flint moved closer to the screen. Sure enough, white wakes traced across the blue oceans as countless ships moved between continents. Aircraft carriers, cargo vessels, fishing boats, cruise ships, all floating on the deadly liquid that would dissolve any crystal being in seconds. How is this possible? Lieutenant Quartz asked. Perhaps, Flint said slowly. They coat themselves in some protective substance. Or maybe they have developed immunity through generations of exposure. Should we change our attack plan, sir? Asked Sergeant Amber. No, Flint replied firmly. Immunity or not, concentrated hydrobomb attacks will overwhelm any defense. We will simply use more water than usual. The fleet continued toward Earth, but now Flint felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. Every previous enemy had shown proper fear of water. They built their cities far from any H2O sources. They used energy shields to deflect hydrobombs. They understood that water meant death. But these humans seemed to celebrate water. Their cities surrounded it. Their ships rode on it. Their very bodies were apparently comfortable with constant moisture exposure. Commander, Captain Ruby called out, I am receiving a transmission directed at our fleet. From Earth? Yes, sir. It appears to be an official greeting. Flint straightened in his command chair. Put it through. The main screen flickered, then showed a human face. The creature had smooth skin, small eyes, and spoke in clear galactic standard language. Unknown vessels approaching Earth, the human said calmly. This is Admiral Davis of the United Earth Defense Force. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. Flint activated the response channel. I am Commander Flint of the Crystalline Hegemony 3rd Battle Fleet. We claim this world for the Crystal Empire. You have one opportunity to surrender unconditionally. Admiral Davis showed no fear. In fact, the human seemed almost amused. I see. And what happens if we decline your generous offer? Your world will be cleansed with hydro weapons. Every carbon-based life form will be dissolved. Your cities will become crystal colonies. Now Admiral Davis definitely smiled. Hydro weapons? You mean water? Liquid H2O deployed in concentrated bombardments, the deadliest force in the galaxy. The human actually laughed. Commander, I think there might be some confusion here. Are you seriously threatening to attack us with water? Flint's crystal form began glowing with anger. You dare mock the weapon that has conquered 300 worlds? No mockery intended, Admiral Davis replied. It's just that we use water for drinking, bathing, and swimming. My morning shower contained more H2O than most weapon systems. The transmission ended, leaving Flint staring at a blank screen. Around him, his crystal officers stood in stunned silence. Sir, Lieutenant Quartz said quietly, did that human just say they shower in our ultimate weapon? Impossible, Flint muttered, but doubt crept into his voice. 2 hours until attack range, Sergeant Amber reported. Commander Flint looked out at the blue world ahead. Something was very wrong here, but he had his orders. The 3rd Battle Fleet would attack as MA planned. He just hoped Emperor Quartzius was right about this being an easy conquest. Commander Flint stood in his crystal command chamber, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The blue ocean seemed to mock him now, but he pushed away his doubts. The 3rd Battle Fleet had never failed. Today would be no different. All ships report ready for hydro bomb deployment, announced Lieutenant Quartz. Target the largest population centers first, Flint ordered. New York, London, Tokyo. 3 direct hits should demonstrate our power. The crystal ships moved into attack formation above Earth's atmosphere. Below them, the planet continued its peaceful rotation, unaware that death was about to rain from the sky. Hydrobomb bays open. reported Sergeant Amber. "Weapons armed and ready." "Fire," Flint commanded. 3 massive water bombs dropped toward Earth's surface. Each one contained enough concentrated H2O to dissolve an entire city. Flint watched through his sensors as the deadly payloads fell through the atmosphere, trailing vapor as they descended. The first bomb struck the Atlantic Ocean near New York. Flint expected to see the city's lights go dark as billions of gallons of weaponized water spread across the land. Instead, something impossible happened. The ocean absorbed the hydrobomb completely. No explosion. No spreading death cloud. Just a small splash, like dropping a pebble into a pond. What? Flint stared at his readings. That's impossible. The second bomb hit the Thames River near London. Again, the water simply joined the existing river flow. No devastation, no dissolved buildings. Nothing. The third bomb landed in Tokyo Bay with the same result, a harmless splash in water that was already there. "Commander," Lieutenant Quartz said nervously, "the hydro bombs appear to have had no effect." "Impossible," Flint roared. "Deploy 20 more bombs. Saturate the entire eastern seaboard." A barrage of water weapons fell toward Earth. Each one contained enough H2O to kill millions of any normal species. But as they struck oceans, lakes, and rivers, they simply merged with the existing water. The deadly weapons became just more drops in an endless sea. "Sir," Captain Ruby called out, urgently, "I'm detecting movement from the planet's surface." The main screen showed something that made every crystal being freeze in terror. Ships were rising from Earth's oceans. Not just a few ships, hundreds of them. Massive gray vessels lifting out of the water like sea monsters awakening from sleep. "Those are warships," Sergeant Amber whispered. "But they were hiding underwater." Admiral Blake stood on the bridge of the USS Leviathan as it broke the ocean surface. Around her, the entire Pacific Fleet was emerging from their underwater positions. Submarines, destroyers, carriers, all rising from the depths where they had waited. "All ships report ready for combat," her communications officer announced. "Good," Blake replied, watching the crystal ships above. "Let's show these rockheads what humans do with water." On his crystal ship, Commander Flint watched in horror as more vessels appeared. These humans weren't running from the water weapons. They were coming out of the water itself. "How are they surviving direct H2O contact?" Lieutenant Quartz asked. Before Flint could answer, the human ships opened fire. But instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired water. Massive streams of high-pressure H2O shot up from the ocean surface, striking the crystal ships with devastating force. The first blast hit Lieutenant Quartz's ship directly. The concentrated water stream punched through his crystal hull like it was glass. Inside, crystal beings dissolved instantly as weaponized H2O flooded their compartments. "They're using our own weapon against us," Sergeant Amber screamed. More water cannons fired from the human fleet. Admiral Blake watched with satisfaction as crystal ships began breaking apart under the hydro assault. These aliens had made a fatal mistake. They brought water weapons to fight the species that had mastered water. "Target their command ship," Blake ordered. "Full pressure on that big crystal bastard." The USS Leviathan's main water cannon rotated toward Commander Flint's flagship. The weapon drew directly from the ocean below, creating a focused stream of liquid death. Flint saw the attack coming but couldn't believe it. Evasive maneuvers. How are they weaponizing H2O? The water stream struck his ship's port side. Crystal armor dissolved like sugar in rain. Flint's command chamber filled with deadly moisture as hull breaches spread throughout his vessel. "Abandon ship," Flint ordered. But it was too late. The water was everywhere, eating through crystal walls, dissolving equipment, turning his mighty warship into cosmic dust. Flint managed to reach an escape pod just as his flagship crumbled. As the pod ejected, he looked back to see his entire fleet under attack by impossible enemies. Human ships moved through space like they were still sailing on Earth's oceans, firing water weapons with deadly precision. But the real shock came when Flint saw how the humans moved their ships. Instead of conventional engines, they used water propulsion. Massive jets of H2O pushed the vessels through space at incredible speeds. They were literally surfing through the void on streams of liquid death. Captain Torres led the second wave of human ships up from the Indian Ocean. Her vessel, the HMS Tsunami, specialized in close-range water combat. As crystal ships tried to flee, she pursued them with aquajets that could slice through any material. "This is incredible," Torres said to her crew. "They really thought water would hurt us." "Should we capture some for interrogation?" her weapons officer asked. "Negative. These aliens just tried to genocide our entire species. No mercy." The space around Earth became a graveyard of dissolved crystal ships. What had started as 50 vessels of the mighty Third Battle Fleet was now just scattered debris floating in the void. Commander Flint's escape pod drifted helplessly as he watched the massacre. His crystal body was cracked from water exposure, but he was alive enough to see the impossible truth. These humans didn't just survive water. They had turned it into the most advanced weapon system in the galaxy. A human patrol ship approached, his pod. Through the viewport, Flint saw Admiral Blake herself looking back at him. Her expression showed no fear, no surprise, just cold determination. "Commander Flint." Blake's voice came through his communication system. "This is Admiral Blake of Earth Defense. Your attack has failed completely." "Impossible," Flint croaked through his damaged voice box. "Water is death. Water dissolves everything." Blake smiled grimly. "Commander, humans are 60% water. We don't just live with H2O, we are made of it. You just brought water guns to fight the ocean itself." Flint's pod was pulled into the human ship's bay. As he looked out at Earth's blue surface, he realized the terrible truth. The crystalline hegemony had found the one species in the galaxy that could turn their ultimate weapon into humanity's greatest strength. The Crystal Empire's perfect war record was broken, and somehow, Flint knew this was just the beginning of their problems. Emperor Quartzius paced his crystal throne room, his quartz body flickering with rage. The news from Earth had shattered 3 centuries of certainty. Commander Flint's entire fleet, destroyed. Not defeated, not retreated, completely dissolved, by creatures who used water as naturally as breathing. "Impossible," the Emperor roared, his voice cracking the crystal walls. "Water is death. It has always been death." Admiral Slate stood before the throne, his obsidian form trembling. As the Emperor's military advisor, he had to deliver more bad news. "My lord, the situation is worse than we first thought. Our intelligence network reports that other species across the galaxy have heard about Earth's victory." "What do you mean?" Quartzius demanded. "The furry folk of Kalos Prime are calling it the day water failed. The plant people survivors are spreading stories about humans who swim in liquid death. 17 conquered worlds are asking the same question. If water can't kill humans, what else can they do?" Emperor Quartzius felt something new and terrible: fear. For 300 years, the mere threat of hydrobombs had kept the galaxy in line. Now one small blue world had proven that the crystalline hegemony's ultimate weapon was useless against the right enemy. "Assemble the Grand Armada," the Emperor ordered. "Every crystal ship in the Empire. I want Supreme Admiral Obsidian to lead, personally." "My lord," Admiral Slate said carefully, "perhaps we should study these humans first. Learn their weaknesses before—" "No!" Quartzius's shout made the throne room shake. "We crush them now before their victory inspires rebellion across the galaxy. 100,000 crystal ships. Enough firepower to crack planets. These water swimmers will learn that the Crystal Empire does not accept defeat." 3-star systems. Away, Supreme Admiral Obsidian received his orders with grim satisfaction. The most feared commander in crystal history, he had personally overseen the conquest of 50 worlds. His flagship, the Diamond Fist, was the largest warship ever built. "Admiral," his aide Captain Marble reported, "the Grand Armada is assembling. 100,000 ships from across the Empire." "Excellent," Obsidian replied, his diamond body gleaming with anticipation. "And the new weapons?" "Crystal hardening shields installed on all vessels, sir. The Science Division believes these will resist water attacks long enough for us to deploy the new strategy." Obsidian nodded. The Emperor's scientists had worked desperately to understand the Earth defeat. Their solution was elegant: If water dissolved crystal hulls, then make the hulls harder than any water could penetrate. But Supreme Admiral Obsidian had his own plan. Instead of hydrobombs, he would use pure kinetic force. Asteroid bombardment, plasma cannons, gravity weapons, anything except water. These humans might have mastered H2O, but they were still soft carbon-based creatures. On Earth, Admiral Blake stood in the new Global Defense Command Center, watching displays that showed crystal ships gathering across 3 star systems. The intelligence was clear. The largest military force in galactic history was coming to Earth. Admiral, Captain Torres reported, satellite surveillance confirms over 90,000 crystal vessels so far, more arriving every hour. Blake nodded calmly. She had expected this response. When you embarrass a galactic empire, they tend to take it personally. Status report on the Poseidon project? Blake asked. Ahead of schedule, replied Dr. Wells, the lead scientist. We've converted half the Pacific Ocean into our primary weapon system. The Atlantic and Indian Ocean networks will be online within days. Blake smiled. While the Crystal Empire gathered its forces, humanity had been busy. The Poseidon project was humanity's answer to galactic warfare, turn Earth's oceans into the largest weapon system ever created. Captain Torres pulled up holographic displays showing the project's scope. Underwater factories stretched across ocean floors producing water-based weapons at impossible rates. Massive pumping stations could launch ocean water anywhere in the solar system. The planet's entire hydrological cycle had become a military resource. The asteroid belt stations are ready too, Torres added. We've captured over 3,000 ice asteroids and converted them into kinetic water bombs. Blake nodded with satisfaction. Let the Crystal Empire bring their 100,000 ships. Earth would show them what happened when you declared war on the species that had turned water into an art form. Meanwhile, Supreme Admiral Obsidian's Grand Armada jumped through hyperspace toward Earth. The crystal ships filled space like a metallic storm, their hulls gleaming with new protective coatings. Obsidian stood on his flagship's bridge, confident that overwhelming force would succeed where subtlety had failed. Admiral, his navigator Lieutenant Titanium reported, "We will reach the target system in 6 hours." "Signal all ships," Obsidian commanded. "Deploy in maximum spread formation. I want Earth surrounded completely. Nothing escapes." But as the Crystal Fleet approached the solar system, they encountered something unexpected. Human ships were already waiting for them, not near Earth but scattered throughout the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Captain Torres commanded the advance fleet from her flagship, now renamed the Deep Current. Around her, 50 human vessels drifted silently among the asteroids, invisible to crystal sensors. Crystal Fleet entering sensor range, her tactical officer reported. Confirmed count, 112,000 vessels. Understood, Torres replied calmly. Signal Earth Command. Operation Ocean Storm is go. On Earth, massive installations across all continents activated simultaneously. The planet's magnetic field focused into tight beams, creating hypersonic water cannons that could fire across interplanetary distances. Ocean water, compressed to incredible densities, shot through space toward the asteroid belt. Supreme Admiral Obsidian watched his forward scouts suddenly explode into crystal fragments. Water streams, traveling at near light speed, were striking his ships from impossible distances. "How are they firing from Earth?" he demanded. "That's over 200 million kilometers." Before anyone could answer, the real attack began. Human ships throughout the asteroid belt revealed themselves, using ice asteroids as ammunition. But these weren't normal ice chunks. They were precisely engineered water weapons, designed to shatter crystal hulls on impact. The HMS Tsunami fired the first barrage. A dozen ice asteroids accelerated to massive velocities struck Obsidian's left flank. Crystal ships cracked like eggs, their new protective coatings useless against kinetic water impacts. "Return fire," Obsidian ordered. "All weapons." The Crystal Fleet unleashed everything except hydrobombs, plasma cannons, gravity weapons, kinetic missiles, all targeted at the human ships hiding among the asteroids. But the humans fought like nothing Obsidian had ever seen. They used water ice as shields, redirecting attacks with steam clouds. Their ships moved through space using water propulsion that made them nearly impossible to target. Captain Torres watched crystal ships dissolve around her as Earth's long-range water cannons found their marks. The humans had learned from the first battle. Instead of letting the enemy come to them, they had turned the entire inner solar system into a battlefield. "All ships," Torres broadcast, "remember what these bastards tried to do to our home. No mercy, no prisoners." The tide of battle turned quickly. Crystal technology, designed to fight water-fearing species, couldn't adapt to enemies who weaponized H2O at a galactic scale. Supreme Admiral Obsidian watched his Grand Armada dissolve piece by piece. As his own flagship began taking water damage, Obsidian realized the horrible truth. Humanity hadn't just defeated one crystal fleet. They had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen. A species that could turn the most abundant substance in the universe into an unstoppable military force. The Crystal Empire was about to learn that some enemies don't just survive your attacks, they make your weapons obsolete. 6 months after the Battle of the Asteroid Belt, Captain Rivers stood on the bridge of the USS Cascade as it entered orbit around Vitros, the crystal homeworld. Behind her, a fleet of human vessels followed. Not warships this time, but medical ships, supply vessels, and diplomatic craft loaded with the most precious cargo in the galaxy: water. The once mighty Crystal Empire had fallen in just 96 hours after their Grand Armada's destruction. News of Supreme Admiral Obsidian's defeat had spread faster than hyperspace communications. Across 300 worlds, species that had lived in terror of hydrobombs suddenly realized their oppressors could be beaten. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Emperor Quartzius himself." "Put him through," Rivers replied. The main screen flickered, showing the former ruler of the galaxy. Emperor Quartzius looked nothing like the proud, crystal being who had once commanded star systems. His quartz body was cracked and dim, his ruby eyes flickering weakly. "Captain Rivers," Quartzius said quietly, I welcome you to Vitros." It was the first time in crystal history that their emperor had welcomed anyone. Rivers nodded respectfully. "Emperor, we come in peace. Earth has authorized me to begin humanitarian aid operations." Quartzius actually laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Humanitarian aid. You bring water to beings who spent centuries fearing it as the ultimate weapon. The irony is complete." Captain Rivers understood his pain. The Crystal Empire hadn't just lost a war. They had discovered their entire worldview was wrong. Water wasn't the galaxy's most dangerous weapon. In the right hands, it was the galaxy's greatest tool for both creation and destruction. "Emperor," Rivers said gently, "we know your people are suffering. The economic collapse, the food shortages, the rebellions on former colony worlds. Let us help." Down on Vitros, the crystal cities were indeed crumbling. Without tribute from conquered worlds, the crystal economy had collapsed overnight. Worse, species across the galaxy were demanding reparations for centuries of oppression. But Emperor Quartzius had learned something important from humanity's victory. Sometimes accepting help from your former enemies was the only way to survive. "What do you propose?" he asked. Captain Rivers activated a holographic display showing human relief efforts across the galaxy. "We've already begun operations on 17 former colony worlds. Medical water for the sick, irrigation systems for damaged farmlands, clean drinking supplies for refugee populations." The Emperor stared at the images. Human ships distributing the very substance his empire had used for genocide. But now it brought life instead of death. Children of species he had oppressed were playing in human-built fountains. Farmers whose crops had been destroyed by hydrobombs were now using human water purification systems. "The furry folk of Callus Prime," Quartzius said slowly. "They are accepting your help?" "More than accepting it," Rivers replied. "They've asked to join the new Galactic Coalition for Mutual Aid. So have the plant people of Green World, the rock miners of Titan 7, and 43 other species. This was the revolution humanity had started without meaning to. By defeating the Crystal Empire with water, the weapon everyone had feared most, they had shown the galaxy that strength could be used for protection instead of conquest. Admiral, Blake appeared on a secondary screen from Earth. Emperor, I have a proposal. The Coalition needs experienced leaders who understand galactic politics. Your empire may have fallen, but your knowledge could help build something better. Quartzius was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question that had haunted him for months. How? How did you master what we feared most? Admiral Blake smiled. Emperor, your people see water as a weapon because you're afraid of it. We see it as life because we're made of it. When you threatened us with H2O, it was like threatening fire beings with heat or rock beings with stone. You brought our natural element to fight us. But the precision, Quartzius insisted, the way your ships move through space using water, propulsion, the long-range hydro cannons, the ice asteroid weapons, that level of mastery took more than natural affinity. Captain Rivers nodded. You're right. It took something else. Cooperation. Every human on Earth contributed to our defense. Scientists designed the weapons, engineers built them, farmers provided food for the workers, teachers trained the crews. 8 billion minds working together. This concept was foreign to Crystal society. Their empire had been built on domination and fear. Individual crystal beings followed orders without question. But humans had created something unprecedented. A species-wide collaboration that turned their entire planet into a unified defense system. The Poseidon Project, Rivers continued, wasn't built by one genius or one government. It was humanity itself, working as a single organism. Over the following weeks, former crystal colonies experienced something they had never known: genuine aid without conquest. Human medical teams treated diseases that crystal overlords had ignored. Human engineers repaired infrastructure damaged by centuries of resource extraction. Human teachers shared knowledge freely instead of hoarding it. Dr. Wells, now serving as Director of Galactic Rehabilitation, stood before the new Coalition Council on Harmony Station, a space platform built jointly by 12 different species. The council chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy, including several crystal beings who had chosen cooperation over conquest. The water distribution network is now operational in 47 systems, Dr. Wells reported. Clean H2O is reaching every inhabited world in the former Crystal territory. General Stone, the former Crystal military leader who had joined the coalition, added his own report. Security situations have stabilized in most sectors. The few remaining Crystal hardliners are being dealt with by joint peacekeeping forces. But the real change was deeper than politics or economics. The galaxy had learned a fundamental lesson about power. For centuries, civilizations had sought the ultimate weapon, something so terrible that mere possession would guarantee victory. The Crystal Empire had found that weapon in water, but humanity had shown that true strength came not from wielding ultimate weapons, but from transforming them into tools of creation. The same H2O that had dissolved crystal fleets now irrigated farms on dead worlds and provided medicine to the sick. Emperor Quartzius, now serving as cultural advisor to the coalition, stood in his new office aboard Harmony Station. Through the transparent aluminum windows he could see ships from dozens of species moving peacefully through space. Many of them used water-based propulsion systems that humans had freely shared. Admiral Blake joined him at the window. Any regrets, Emperor? Quartzius considered this. His empire was gone, his people scattered across the galaxy as refugees and immigrants. But for the first time in his long life, the galaxy was at peace. I have learned something, he said finally. We thought water would melt us. Instead, it washed away our fear. Blake nodded. Fear is the real enemy, Emperor. Water, like any force in the universe, becomes whatever we make of it. Your people made it into death. We made it into life. Outside the station, human ships continued their work across the galaxy. But they were no longer alone. Crystal beings worked alongside furry folk to build new cities. Plant people collaborated with rock miners to terraform dead worlds. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest secret. That cooperation was stronger than any weapon. The age of conquest was over. The age of collaboration had begun. And it all started because one species refused to fear the thing that gave them life.